Today, I'm going to explain a drama mystery movie called The Discovery. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens with a man named Dr. Thomas Harbour giving an interview, in which it is revealed that he has just proven the existence of the afterlife. He explains that once the body dies, a part of our consciousness separates from it and travels to a new plane of existence. The interviewer asks whether he feels responsible for the millions of people who chose to end their lives because they believed something better was waiting for them on the other side. However, Thomas feels no guilt, insisting that making this discovery public was absolutely essential for the future of humanity. Just then, one of the cameramen suddenly interrupts them and thanks Thomas for giving him a new beginning before shooting himself dead. The scene then cuts to some time later, where we see a man named Will Harbour, who is the son of Thomas. He is taking a ferry to visit his father, and on the television, it is announced that it has been a year and a half since Thomas's last public appearance. During that tragic interview, it is revealed that since then, the number of people who have taken their own lives in an attempt to reach the afterlife has risen to 4 million. This clearly irritates Will, and
3 million was fine before?
He abruptly turns off the television. Just then, another passenger named Isla states that she was watching the TV, so Will approaches her for a conversation. He comments that she looks very familiar, which is strange because they are meeting for the first time. They begin discussing Thomas's invention known as the Discovery, and Isla says that she views it as an easy escape from pain. Will, who is a neurologist, remains skeptical and believes the evidence supporting the discovery is inconclusive. Their perspectives clearly diverge, as Isla believes in the promise of a second chance after death, while Will does not. Not long after, they arrive on an island and go their separate ways, uncertain if they will ever meet again. Will is then picked up by his younger brother Toby, who takes him to a mansion their father has recently purchased. Toby reveals that their father has invented a new device and is eager to show it to him. Will notices several people dressed in uniform, and Toby explains that all of them had attempted to end their lives multiple times, so Thomas brought them here and gave them a reason to live. A lifetime supply of chicken wings. Upon entering the mansion, Will arrives in a laboratory where he notices that his father is connected to a strange new machine. The procedure involves killing him for a few seconds in order to record his brainwaves, then reviving him with electrical shocks before it is too late. Will finds all of this deeply disturbing and tells his brother that he has gone too far, and it seems like his father has started a cult here. Sometime later, Thomas wakes up from the experiment and welcomes his son. However, Will urges him to stop all of this and tell the media that the discovery was false, so people will stop killing themselves. Thomas, however, remains fully convinced of his work, and he also reminds Will that he was the original inspiration for this research. It is revealed that when Will was a child, he was in an accident and was clinically dead for a full minute. When he was resuscitated, he told his parents that he had seen brief flashes of light and a little boy standing in front of him.
Are you sure that's what you saw?
I don't know, maybe. I was dead. It is also revealed that Will once worked alongside his father on this research before the guilt over the deaths became too much and he walked away. After this tense conversation, Will goes to a nearby beach to clear his mind, where he notices Isla in the distance. It soon becomes clear that she is attempting to end her life and heads into the sea, so Will immediately rushes to save her, even though she desperately resists. In the end, Will manages to pull her out of the water and takes her back to the mansion. He wants her to be admitted here and speaks to Toby about it. However, it turns out that there are several procedures she must go through, including filling out a questionnaire. In the final stage, Thomas questions Isla about her life, after which she is finally accepted into the group. That night, a select group of cult members gathers in a hall at Thomas's request. He declares that the time has come, and a revelation capable of changing the course of humanity now lies in his hands. Meanwhile, outside, a woman named Lacey is speaking with a man about how human reasoning can evolve. Lacey expresses concern that eventually people may begin killing others under the justification that they are sending them to the afterlife. Soon, the meeting begins, and after a brief introduction, Thomas presents his project, which claims to reveal what life is like in the afterlife. Everyone in attendance is stunned by the presentation, but a serious problem quickly emerges. With the new device, the person connected to the machine will be unable to return, as their brain activity will be permanently shut down. This means they will need a freshly dead body to proceed, but it's not a big issue given how many people take their own lives every day. After some discussion, they decide to go to a morgue to retrieve a recently deceased body, a task that falls to Toby, Isla, and Will. Not long after, they arrive at the morgue, where Toby distracts the staff while Isla and Will head inside and begin searching for bodies. Eventually, they settle on a man named Phillips and proceed to steal his body without anyone noticing. That night, Isla doesn't like the quarters she is provided, so she heads to Will's room and sleeps on his spare bunk bed. The two begin talking from their beds when a shocking revelation about Thomas's motivations comes to light. Will reveals that years before the invention of discovery, his mother had tragically taken her own life. It turned out to be the day of their anniversary, but Thomas was too absorbed in his work to leave his study, so his wife went upstairs and got into the bathtub. Will then confesses that the next day it was he who discovered her lifeless body. He feels that this is the reason his father has become so obsessed with proving the existence of the afterlife, to find out if his wife reached somewhere. The next day, Thomas gathers a small group to begin testing his new device on the body they retrieved the night before. Lacey powers up the machine, while Toby prepares to deliver the electrical discharges to the connected corpse. All eyes are fixed on the screen, anticipating a reaction, but nothing happens. Thomas orders Toby to press the button again and again, but every attempt is futile. The frustrated man finally storms out of the laboratory, with the others following him. Now only Will remains in the room and begins to disconnect the cable when suddenly the screen comes to life. Stunned, Will watches a video showing Phillips entering a hospital and trying to enter a room, only to be stopped by a woman. She scolds Phillips for his absence and his neglect of his sick father. Just then, Toby and Thomas appear, so Will hastily shuts off the screen before they can see it. Later, they prepare to return Phillips's body, during which Thomas notices Lacey telling the others about the test results. Afterwards, Isla and Will take the dead body back to the morgue, where they place him at the entrance and watch as the staff takes him inside. Moments later, Isla suddenly kisses Will, after which the two drive away in awkward silence. Upon returning to the mansion, Will cannot shake the images he saw on the monitor, so he downloads the footage to his laptop and continues watching it. He soon discovers that the hospital Phillips visited is nearby, so he decides to go there himself. Upon arriving, Will searches for the room from the video but cannot locate it, so asks a cleaner about it. The man explains that the ward existed before the hospital was renovated 10 years ago. Upon hearing this, Will realizes that the machine does not reveal the afterlife, but instead captures memories stored deep within the subconscious. Later at the mansion, Thomas gathers everyone in the hall and shockingly invites Lacey onto the stage. He then humiliates her by revealing how he had found her in the woods with a gun pointed at her heart. He claims how he took care of her and accuses her of telling others about the failure of his device. Panicked, Lacey insists it just slipped out and begs for forgiveness, but Will coldly orders her to pack her belongings and expels her from the mansion, which leaves Lacey devastated. Later, Will meets Isla and finally shows her the video footage he saw of Phillips, concluding that it is just his memories and not the afterlife. He also tells her that he did some investigation in the hospital and learned that Phillips's father was admitted there 13 years ago. But Isla insists that the tests must be definitive and points out a crucial detail. The tattoo on Phillips's arm in the video does not match what she remembers from his dead body. This gives them a valid reason to continue investigating, so they decide to visit Phillips's father's address and meet his family members. However, before heading there, the two take a break on a lonely beach, where Isla had tried to end her life a few days ago. During this moment, Isla opens up about the painful reason behind her actions, revealing that she lost her 5-year-old son, Oliver. She explains that they had once been on a beach like this, and while she had dozed off for a moment, Oliver wandered into the water and drowned, leaving her completely devastated. Will is shocked by her tragic past and comforts her, during which they share a heartfelt hug. Sometime later, they arrive at Phillips's address, where they are shocked to see the same woman from Phillips's video. She reveals that Phillips was her brother, and she doesn't appear shocked or devastated by his death. She admits that her brother was not a good person and had abandoned his family, along with their sick father, many years ago. The worst part is that he never even came to visit their father in the hospital, despite promising to do so. Shocked, Will and Isla then ask about the tattoo, and the woman shows them a matching tattoo they had gotten together at the age of 18. The tattoo in the video is clearly different from this, but it matches the tattoo on the dead body they saw. This proves that what they saw in the footage is not a memory, since Phillips never actually went to the hospital to see his father. After this, Isla and Will return to the mansion, and their minds are still consumed by the mystery of the video. One thing leads to another, and they become intimate, but their moment is interrupted explode when Toby bursts in and shouts that their father is about to die. Thomas has connected himself to the device, deliberately trying to end his life to prove that his invention works. Everyone rushes to the lab, where they discover Thomas strapped to the wires on the verge of death. Then, something bizarre happens when they see footage on the screen which shows Will's mother. She is calling Thomas for dinner, but he is completely absorbed in his work. It turns out that this is footage from the same night of their anniversary when she killed herself. But shockingly this time, Thomas leaves his study room and stops his wife, who is about to go upstairs. He says his work can wait and suggests they have dinner together, and Thomas and Will are completely confused by this, since it never happened. And still, somehow, no one's questioning how they're viewing memories on a computer screen. Fortunately, they manage to bring Thomas back to life with a defibrillator before it is too late, and they all watch the footage again. Will finally informs his father about what he saw in Phillips's footage, which never happened when the man was alive. Thomas is astounded by what he sees and reveals his theory about the true meaning of the discovery. When someone dies, they travel to another version of their own life, where they have a second chance to atone for their mistakes. A son who visits his father in his final moments, a husband who prevents his wife from ending her life. In this way, people would not be forced to accept their remorse, as they will always have a second chance. If Thomas is right, the revelation could be catastrophic for humanity, as more and more people would kill themselves in the hope of fixing their mistakes. They thus decide to destroy the machine before anyone else discovers the truth. Later, Thomas gathers the cult members to announce that he will not continue with the project. This leaves everyone confused, but before Thomas can explain anything, Lacey suddenly arrives and shoots Isla. She frantically tries to justify her actions, claiming that she didn't end Isla's life, but is only relocating her to the afterlife. She begins screaming, insisting that all she wants is her place alongside Thomas. Toby quickly takes her away, while a frantic Will tries to tend to Isla, who is dying. She then says that she doesn't want to die anymore, but tragically passes away in Will's arms, leaving him completely devastated. The scene then cuts to a few days later, where Will is seen still grieving for his beloved and refuses to even leave his room. He hears Thomas and Toby discussing contacting Isla's family so they can pick up her body. It is then revealed that Will has connected himself to the machine, as he wants to go to the afterlife and save Isla. Moments later, he finds himself on the ferry again, where he hears the same news about his father on TV and quickly turns it off. He then comes across Isla, and this time both of them recognize each other. Will says that he wants to save her, but she urges him to calm down and explains that what he is experiencing is just a memory. In a shocking twist, she reveals that this memory has already happened in various alternative lives of Will and is part of a time loop. It turns out that the first time they met, he didn't even get off the ferry, and the next day he read in the newspaper that Isla had drowned at the beach. The thought of having done nothing to help her began eating Will alive, so he killed himself to travel to the afterlife to save her. Isla explains that Will has lived dozens of lives, always trying to prevent her from killing herself, and this is the first time that he has succeeded. Will asks why he doesn't remember any of his past lives, so Isla replies that every time he dies, he meets her again on this ferry. Although no one can fully recall their past lives, sometimes certain memories manage to linger, which is why her face looked familiar to him when they met earlier in the movie. A panicked Will says that he wants to save her, but Isla smiles and says that he already has, explaining that there are many ways to save someone. As the movie ends, Will walks away, but soon turns around to look back, as if experiencing a sense of familiarity with who Isla is, even though he has never met her in this reality.